particularly strong one today, guys. So I'm so sorry for the 15-minute delay. And we could have intermittent crashes every now and then. So I'm glad that you can hear me and see me. He's been kind of flashing my screen and messing with my computer the past couple of days, and that's been really interesting. Many of you who've been doing sessions with me have been saying, "Oh no, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?" And then the internet's going nuts. It's been crazy around here for the past few days with this one around. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Spreecast, we have our live interactive chat um, over to the right, and we have our viewer questions and suggestions below my face down here. So you may ask any questions particularly relevant to humanity, the human conscious collective, and self-love, overcoming fears. This seems to be the theme that we're going for with him today. That seems to be what this one is talking about quite rampantly and avidly. So let me see, what else do I want to tell you? And when he chooses your question, then we'll put them in the current topic list, which is right above my head, and you should see it flash across the screen. We're not selective about our questions. I just take exactly whichever ones he points to and says, yeah, that one, that's it. There's no particularly hierarchy here or anything silly like that. I just take the questions that the angels tell me to take. So what I'm going to be doing today is, number one, attempting not to cry. Let me just put this mildly. I have been crying for 3 days straight working with this being, particularly because one of the purposes that I'm going into involves acceptance. So for me, as a spiritual teacher, learning to go towards self-love and acceptance and then teach it to the rest of humanity was something that I committed to a few months ago. So that's a very recent, experience for me and lesson for me. So it's very personal and relevant to me, and he's been speaking to me very strongly. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Pamela Aaralyn. I am a clear conduit channel. I've been channeling these truths from higher beings and many beings, both human and beyond, since age 5. So if you want to learn more about the angels, you can join our workshop series, and that's listed in the topic above, where you can join us for the workshop. We already had our Angels Awareness Workshop. If you want to get access to that, email us at PamelaAaralyn@gmail.com or directly from aurareader.com. But we'll be doing a live one very soon, here in a week or so. I believe it's next Sunday at 3 p.m. Mountain Time, if you want to join us for that. And that will be Healing with the Angels. This is Angel Awareness 201, since we already did 101. So with Angel Awareness 201, we're just going to be discussing how to channel in angels for purposes of healing for ourselves and others. So that should be really interesting. Let's go ahead and start. Today we're going to be channeling Archangel Uriel. I'm not going to be doing a big massive statement because I'm in avoidance of crying in the public eye. Could happen anyway, probably. But with these very heavy topics, what I will tell you about this particular being is that he is like no one that I've ever seen. He wasn't particularly relevant to me as a favorite of mine for angels that I like to channel. I will standardly go for Haniel and Archangel Michael, Metatron, Sandalphon, Jophiel. Those are some of my favorites. This one came to me really, really recently for the first time about, I want to say around September of last year was when I began working with this one. And immediately he began that massive self-love acceptance transformation, like right away. And I'm like, oh, okay. So in terms of how he looks, it's unusual for the looks and the sound. I don't particularly have like a human connection that I can tell you about when it comes to this one. He looks kind of pale in appearance. I see a little bit of a skin tone. There is a little bit of a male, but a little bit androgynous as well. I see a human form, but not when they're speaking. There's no human words. Everything that comes out sounds a little bit monotone. It's a very flat tone, and the language is of the Elohim nature. Like I don't get any translations into human language at all. So I have to translate everything because I translate the Elohim language. And normally what it sounds like is a bit of hmm, a musical tone, like an engineered or mastered musical tone from a synthesizer on a keyboard. That is the best human relation that I can explain to you about how he actually sounds in tones and when they're speaking. Otherwise, everything is telepathically transmitted, as is everything when you channel archangels. Um, he's great with comfort while also at the same time making sure that awareness is occurring. This particular archangel is responsible for the comfort of the human conscious collective when facing fears so that humanity can go towards self-love. So what recently when I was on a long airplane trip, I had an astral travel experience, and Archangel Michael was there because I had to see some very difficult things in the human conscious collective that related to war and Syrian refugees and many third world countries that were experiencing many difficult things like genocide. You know, um, many of the states in our country, in the United States, that are experiencing extreme poverty and homelessness and like inner city type of wars, you know, more on the domestic front. And I was seeing all of this as if it was happening in flashes coming before my eyes, you know, pretty much one behind the other. And Michael was there to keep me strong. And then, of course, the moment I woke up from that experience of seeing that, um, the human me kicked in, and I immediately started bawling because I'm immensely empathetic towards humans, very empathic. My heart center was on fire, and of course, I went into the suffering, you know, which is not really going to be helpful for me to teach anything if I'm too caught up in the suffering. So the moment I went into the suffering and I started to really feel it, Uriel yanked me out of it. And this is exactly the purpose. The reason why I'm sharing this story with you is because this is exactly the purpose that he has. Is when I get to that point where I'm really getting ready to go into suffering, he just kind of comforts me and says, "Okay, here's what's going on. You know, are you done feeling that? Good. Okay, no. Step outside, disidentify from pain, and be logically, consciously aware of what you're choosing. Because if you step out of pain quickly, then you don't have to suffer. And you can transmute any single human gamut of emotion possible, any single emotion possible within the gamut of human emotions. You can transmute that, no matter what it is, into a higher frequency that is much more beneficial for you. And if each of you are doing that, then it helps the human conscious collective, and that is why he's here. So let's go back to how he looks. There is a kind of a almost opalesque, translucent. It's like looking at moonstone when you're looking at his face. There's like a chiseled male looking face, but long blonde hair. That's the first thing I noticed was that these piercing blue eyes. In Utah, we have a very popular lake that's based upon the mineral content. It has a very blue color. It's called Bear Lake, for those of you who want to look it up. It looked like that. It looked like this really piercing, icy aquamarine eyes that were huge, by the way, just way too big for his face, but still quite beautiful. And then this iridescent, opalesque, almost translucent tone to the skin. Um, I'm a mom, so I have to make reference to certain childhood books. I don't know, for those of you moms out there, if you have read the book Rainbow Fish, you'll know what I'm talking about. Because when you look at the fish a certain way, this is like one of those touch and feel books where the fish is, you know, really glimmery. And then if you turn the fish in this book a certain way, you turn the page a certain way, the light will hit the skin or the scales a certain way, and it'll be pink, or it'll be blue, or it'll be yellow. It's very opalescent like that and translucent. And if you look you can see when I looked closer, with Uriel, I could see components of his DNA that looked almost mechanical, where I could look inside of his being and go, oh my heck, you are so not human. And I don't know why this kind of stuff shocks me. I don't have a lot of particular connection to this angel, but normally when I look at other angels, they look so non-human that I'm really not used to it. But when I looked at this one, being that I haven't seen him before until recently or experienced anything before until, like I said, September, when I first saw him, I saw sparks of light as kind of like a cell phone tower just pinging between all of these little, what appeared to be gears of light that had edges, like when you look at a metal gear and there are serrated edges all the way around it. It looked like that, except it was made out of light. And and then light would ping from one to another in different and vast areas of his body. And then when it would ping, the gear would move. And then when the gear of light would move, then all of these colors would just go everywhere. And then the skin would change to that color. So if I were, and this is why Archangel Uriel works with those of you who are going through spiritual awakening, spiritual transition. He is responsible for those of you who come in for the purpose of awareness and awakening. He is also responsible for those of you who come in with the purpose of self-love in the form of acceptance. So this is why he's perfect for those of you who are going through the crystal transition, awakening to a dominant color of crystal in your auric field. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I also see energy. I see into the ether. I see auric fields. So crystal is the color that I have up on my website. You can read all about it. Just Google my name, Crystal Aura, and it will come up. It's a very rare color. But what crystal does is it's very refractory. So it would be like if you put up an actual crystal, like a sun catcher, into the light, in front of a window, and then when the sunlight hits it, it refracts it and sort of pulls it into 1,000 different directions like a kaleidoscope. This is kind of my experience with Uriel. This is the best way that I can describe that. If it's making any sense, I'm just trying to be as descriptive as possible. So Uriel has been responsible for pulling me personally and the majority of you who are going through these purposes of acceptance and self-love into these states where you accept what's going on, that you lose resistance. Resistance is a big deal from what he's describing to me in the human conscious collective today, because humans are carrying over a massive amount of fear. So when the human conscious collective is on this tipping point, because that is the way it has been described, from Uriel to me and from many of the archangels to me, that the human conscious collective are all on this tipping point, and it's like a teeter-totter, it's like a seesaw, and the angels are standing in the middle, and this is primarily one that does it. So for those of you who have those purposes of awareness and acceptance and self-love and awakenings, that's why you found me, because I have those purposes as well. And that's why you align to me and choose my teachings. But that's why you would also really align towards this specific angel. So when you are going through your awakening process, call upon this one. When you're really having a hard time with resistance, because resistance is another level of fear. I did create a process for resistance, and it is over on my YouTube channel. So if you want to Google it in that way, or if you go straight to my channel and search for the resistance video, that is the one that particular archangel seems to like a lot, because I created that process because I was the most resistant person under the face of the sun, was such a heavy inner critic who constantly ruminates and thinks, and now I'm the opposite. So much now that I follow every single emotion I have, to the extent that others around me probably get annoyed with it and they're like, can you be logical for a moment? That doesn't even make sense. So Uriel comes in with acceptance for those of you who are going through that stage of your awakening, like I am, where he can sort of help you with this balance. Because as I was stating earlier, humanity is in a precarious position. where unlike anything else on the planet, okay, we're going to try this again, right? Can you hear me now? Yes? No. You were good? Because I don't want to just be sitting here like talking just between me and Uriel because he's been around for a few days now. And as fascinating as he is, I also would like to talk to humans at least 50% of the time in my life. So, yeah, I warned you guys, this is going to be a time where he is trying to ground his energy as much as humanly possible. Yeah, not so human. So, all right. Let's see. So yeah, last word, planet. Thank you, David. So back to that, we're at a precarious stage. So for those of you who are awakening, please call upon Uriel to balance out that. If you're having a hard time with self-love, the more that we can individually work on that and love ourselves, um, knowing that it's okay to honor our own needs, that's something that's been coming up, while simultaneously being really aware of the needs of others that love us. That's been something that's been coming up as a theme that he's been teaching me personally and teaching people collectively. So there's a balance between loving yourself enough to say, okay, these are your needs, and even if it's going to hurt someone, if your intent is good and if you're loving, and you love yourself enough to honor those needs, while being aware of that other person's needs without compromising fully your entire essence, then that can be something that balances out that precarious point. Because what I'm noticing is that many humans are carrying over these negative imprints and core beliefs that relate to martyrdom, sacrificed, owned, controlled, uh, manipulated, disrespected, all of these disempowered based core beliefs. Archangel Uriel is here to particularly help you with those because those are the hardest. Those are the times right now that we're going through that is the opposite is the opposite of that. So I want to go back to what I was sharing with you about these wheels of light that operate in it. And when I say wheels of light, it's not very human. It's not the same as when humans have chakras, 7 to 22 or more of them, depending upon your origin. Um, it's not like that type of wheel of light. It's tiny little wheels of light everywhere. That when I look at him, there are literally hundreds and thousands of them. It is amazing to look at, probably the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. So what happens is much like a crystal ray being who comes in and has crystal as the primary color in their aura, and they come in and they're absorbent, like a crystal in the sunlight. He's that way too. So when he comes around you, he basically begins to pull in your emotions and your energies, and then he transmutes it. Those wheels of light will take that, pull that emotion in through him personally, and then the wheels spin, and then I can see the frequency of those feeling signatures that aren't helpful and that are no longer relevant or helpful to you begin to transmute as the wheels spin, and then it just pings over to another one of the wheels. Say it started here in the heart center of him, and then it was green, and then it'll ping over here, and then it'll spin into that wheel, and then ping over here, and then I can see him processing. When he's working with me, he was processing my feelings, which are vast. God bless him with that. So he would take an emotion and process it and sort of go, does she need this feeling signature? And then it would go through a little gear, and then it would ping very quickly and synapse, like looking at electrical frequencies in the brain, like when the brain synapses, you can literally see it pinging around. It's like that. So yes, it is like the nervous system, exactly like that, except he's doing this in a very interesting way. This isn't a nervous system, but it's something similar to the human nervous system. And then I could see him like pulling it through and going, okay, does she want acceptance. Okay, does she want empowerment? No. Does she want vulnerability? No. Does she want, and then he was like going through the various things, and each time something would go through, I could feel it too. And it was this symbiotic thing that was happening between me and this archangel. Particularly just last night at 3:30 a.m., this one woke me up and was doing that. And I'm like going through it with him, and I could feel him telepathically and feel it just coming back, talking to me and saying, okay, this is what it would feel like to feel this. This is what it would feel like to feel that. And I settled upon awareness, and I don't even know if settled upon is the right word, but I chose awareness after experiencing everything possible, that was being offered to me. Finally, I went to acceptance and awareness, which seemed to be hand in hand there. And when that happened, I saw two wheels of light activate, one from the heart and one from up here in the third eye. And they just went like this. They pinged in the center, and I could see the light going back and forth between the two as the wheels were consecutively spinning. And then I could feel acceptance and awareness in the same areas of my body. So Uriel also happens to be a natural healer, for those of you who don't know that. So that's kind of how he works for purposes of healing. And each of the archangels have these sort of purposes to help us heal. And they each work in very unique ways. So this is how this one works to help us with healing. I'm going to go ahead and get right into your questions. Let me look at the viewer questions and suggestions for a moment. Oh, we're going to talk about dimensions and ascension, 3D and 5D. I think he's happy with that. When he chooses the questions, they go right up here, by the way. The question is, Uriel, thank you for lighting my path. I am curious but confused about what a fifth dimensional Earth will feel like. How is it different, a different experience than the 3D Earth? And he's not talking, by the way. He doesn't talk in words. He shows me images telepathically transmitted. That is exactly how I'm communicating. Versus when I was talking to Michael and others, I need to make that clear to you guys. I would hear sounds, or I would see actions and see them pointing and hear sounds and feel certain things. Nothing like that with this one. It's telepathically transmitted like an instant download. So what I'm seeing that he's showing me, fifth dimension looks immensely different, but still immensely similar. And what he's expressing to me here with this is that it kind of looks like you can still see people that you love. You can still see experiences that you like, but you choose them. It is fluid. The word that he's given me in my mind is fluid. Um, Change without fear is a phrase that he is downloading right now. Transformational, changing, ever presently changing. Um, People are walking around fully aware of everything. He's showing me that they are aware, and he's showing me an image of people walking by the street, just strangers. And as they cross right here, like the closer they get, telepathy instantly happens. And there's this ping like this that goes on where they look in each other's eyes and they telepathically know, and then they'll speak at the same time and say good day, or they'll speak at the same time, and say, yeah, how are you doing today? Is there anything I can help you with? And the other one will know if this one needs help with something. And it doesn't appear to be anything that's negative. It doesn't, he's not showing me any particular relation to suffering from what the human perspective or definition would be. Um, he's showing me that humans are still given situations that they could turn into something really, really good, but it rarely turns into anything really, really bad. And then if it does, then it's more of a feeling and not an action. It's more of a letdown or an intermittent disappointment that automatically is transmuted into some action-based thing. that causes humans to be able to manifest instantly. Like the moment you would normally have fear, when humans go towards something that is like a fight or a flight response, the way that he's explaining it to me and showing me here today, is that um, humans go through and they're like, oh my gosh, boom, instant fear, panic. This is the worst case scenario. Humans are master catastrophizers, by the way. And he says it's not really that way with humans in 5D, that they'll say, okay, this is something that could be bad. What am I going to feel? And they have an instant awareness of choice, as opposed to like what I call the monkey brain, which is the limbic system taking over, that particular area of our brain that just automatically makes us freak out, and then sends adrenaline all around and fight or flight responses and makes us say things that we really don't mean. I get that all the time, by the way. I'm such a panicker. So when I'm working with him and I start to panic and I get there and I start to say really stupid things because I'm panicking, like I'm beginning to notice that I'm stopping myself, much like in the fifth dimensional component, that I'll stop midway through and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what I'm doing. That doesn't make any freaking sense. So, yeah, that's really, really interesting because humans get this power of choice automatically, as opposed to suffering, that they, in the fifth dimensional components, will feel something that feels like awareness, and then they choose um, a much more doable and believable higher frequency that leads towards a positive outcome instantly, versus humans now in the 3D, when it relates to manifestation, we'll say, okay, better visualize, okay, what would it feel like to have that vision, okay, attached to the feeling and the feeling signature and the vision, and go into this meditation, and we have to get our inner critics out of the way and calm down the limbic system and make the brain chill out. We got to go to a Vipassana meditation retreat for 10 days in order to make our inner critics stop. Not so much in the fifth dimensional components. So basically speaking with that, um, it looks different. And he showed me a split as well. And this is very physical. He's showing me, and Dolores Cannon has shown me this too many times before, where she's shown me that there's a split, that there's some kind of, split that happens off of Earth's crust, where there is like literally another Earth that floats off into the environment. He's showing me something that looks a little bit like that too. But he is stating that the third dimensional humans that are still in the 3D won't be aware. They'll be aware that something happened, and that it'll come in the form of something like a major catastrophe, is the way that he's stating it. That they'll be aware that, oh, look, a meteor, because that's what he's showing me that it looks like, is something comes into the earth, hits it, crashes into it. But then this split happens, but the 3D humans don't know that there's a new Earth out there. Like immediately that part of the Earth splits off. It's pretty yucky. It's a pretty big hit, but not enough to just kill Earth. They're still humans. They have to do a lot, start over, things happen, but it's not this major thing where everyone dies either. Okay, it's okay, we had a bad thing, something happened, some people died. 3D humans are going to look at it like that, the same way that if you had an earthquake or if you had a meteor hit in an area of the world or something like that, not where you have one big bang disaster and then everyone on earth is dying and there's catastrophe and stuff like that. It doesn't really look exactly like that. It looked like, okay, something bad happened, and now, we're all gathering together and we're healing collectively. And then in the meantime, there's a whole new Earth out there that's in a whole new dimension that is split off from the 3D Earth, and 3D is completely unaware. If you try to talk to them about it, they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like 3D Earth, for those people who stay in 3D and ask the questions, this is what Uriel is stating to me today, that for those who ask the questions, oh, are we ever going to have actual ET contact? 5D who are here already know that we are the ETs. We are the contact. So what would we be looking for to come down from the sky? You know what I mean? We created the sky. So essentially speaking with that, the 3D humans will be like, yeah, nothing really happened. For those of you who are saying that we now have a 5D Earth out here, you're nuts. Nothing happened. We still haven't had alien contact. We still have wars. We still have good things too. We have duality. We have our good. We have our bad. Some days are great. We still have jobs. We still have light bills to pay. We still have things to do. You know, where versus the 5D will be looking down at Earth and they will be aware. From the way that Uriel describes it to me, 5D Earth will be aware that something happened on Earth and now they're 3D and they are completely enshrouded in this, like a veil of sorts that still remains. So that's the way he's describing it to me. Sorry for the long, there's no way to answer that quickly. So, um, you choose every time someone asked me a question in chat. He said, do we choose that? Do we choose 3D or 5D? And Uriel says, you choose every time you wake up. Your breath in the morning is your choice. And what he means by that is every time you focus on waking up and there's a brand new day, you can choose happiness instead of suffering. You can choose love instead of fear. You can choose awareness instead of resistance. These are all things that he's stating to me. Okay, there's a weird shadow that I'm seeing reflecting back to me on the left side of my face, and nothing is in here. This is exactly the kind of stuff that happens. Maybe one of you scientists can explain that, because I don't have any trees or anything. Absolutely nothing. I have told you this one's odd. Okay, let's take another question here. All right, yeah. This might actually be pretty relevant. I'll answer that from him. Was Enochian magic actually, thank you for the flash. That's him confirming that he wanted to talk about that. Was Enochian magic actually given to John Dee and Edward Kelly by the angels? He nods yes, but he says, and then it was perverted. So there was some level of Enochian magic that was accurate, and then the way that he describes it to me was it was too empowered, it was too strong for human brains to handle, for any humans to handle, and then it got perverted and disempowered and going into a bigger, a bigger thing. So it was given and it is relevant, it is real, but it was really not able to be handled in it, and it did definitely go into some darkness. That's the way that he's describing it to me. What was its true purpose? He said to connect 7 keys to 7 different relevant dimensions of gatekeepers that were in essence working with archangels. So to connect your gates to the seraphim. So I hope that answered that question. So it had a lot of purposes, good ones. It just went dark. Okay, let's take another question here. Ah, yeah, I'm laughing because I was raised in a family against my sexual preference. So I will definitely answer that question. And I'm like begging Uriel, I'm like, please, that one. And he's like, yes, sure. My partner wanted me to ask, this is what you're asking, what is the best way to handle family that is strongly against your sexual preferences? Thank you. He said the use of the word handle is not all inclusive. Why do you need to handle them? Why do they need to handle you? Accept exactly what they feel with compassion for their levels of lack of awareness. Hold a compassionate space for their disempowerment while understanding that their definition, their meaning that they are attaching to you is not you. Understand that acceptance is not relevant to your growth. Why should you require their acceptance? Love them anyway. The only way for you to cause humans to come into full acceptance is when you fully accept their views as well. Please understand that you could be what you want to receive. You wish for acceptance, then show them acceptance. This should not be an easy task these days. It's fun. I say that sarcastically. You have my heart, truly. Okay, let's take another question. Can you share the process details that would be the most effective for me to help shift into consciousness, gain clarity, raise my vibration, and grow further into my spiritual gifts? He states, lose your perception of lack. You are born believing that you are disempowered. And when you operate within a lack mentality and you assume that you don't have open gifts, then they remain unopened. Work with them as if you believe that they are already there. Please understand that in consciousness, become aware of things that normally don't feel relevant to your spiritual function. Find your spiritual consciousness. Find shades of awareness and truth in simple endeavors. When one feels enlightened, one does not feel fractured. One does not perceive that they are separated or lacking. One does not perceive a lack of clarity. One trusts the clarity is already there. Start in the present moment and understand that clarity is already there. Secondly, lose the word why. There is no such relevance to the human condition that could further the truth than simple awareness. Why is not relevant. There is no why. It simply is. What he's showing me in this download is that he's not keen on processes, actually. And he states that we believe that we need them, therefore they work for us because we believe that we require them. Simply put, you awakened, you breathe, and you become aware that you're already clear. You become aware that your gifts are opening or already open. You formulate a belief system that is doable and you go with that. He states, awaken as if the next day is the first day. Awaken as if there is no past and no future. Time is not relevant. You choose in every moment of your every breath to focus on your spiritual awakening and your vibration. Vibration can be chosen and changed in an instant. And when you understand this, then you'll understand that you don't actually need process work. You simply believed that you did. Thank you. Just looking through your questions here for a second. Well, we're going to talk about Abraham. Okay, we can. I believe Uriel is very familiar with Abraham, for those of you who don't know. Uriel is familiar with most of the channel collectives. I can't see this question. I don't know if it's a glitch, but maybe you should type it in chat because it's not, when I click on the option to show me the whole question, it just doesn't show me. So we can't talk about Abraham if I don't have a question, except for me to tell you that Uriel is aware. Oh, you're typing it for me. Thank you. Esther Hicks channels a collective group referred to as Abraham, who has stated that we humans do not require sleep. We just believe that we do. Is this true? Okay, now he's blowing my mind and giving me all these downloads of information that kind of don't make sense. So I'm just going to very quickly repeat it back. What he's showing me is that that is true, but the only reason why it is true is because humans believe that there is a such thing as time. If there was a lack of relevance to time being a real thing, then we would no longer need sleep. So time is the disturbing facet for humanity that requires us to have to need sleep. And then he's showing me a bunch of little different things about how organs die when they don't get enough oxygen because of brain function, and that that we believe that we need sleep, which rejuvenates our brain function, which causes our organs to effectively circulate blood to each other, and then oxygen is effectively keeping our organs alive, but only for a certain amount of time. And that if time were never the beginning stage of point of reference, then none of that would even happen to our organs. So I don't know what he just said. I hope you do. I just repeat back what he gives me. So objectively speaking, time is a problem. Let's see, what else do we have? Insomnia issues. Okay. The question is, can you give me insight as to the reasons why I have insomnia issues after almost 20 years? Is there a common thread that all insomniacs share with each other? Yes, he's nodding. He states, going back to feeling that you need sleep. In this case, you believe that you don't. Why does this get to be a bad thing? It brings about a particular intensity to your emotional states and to your emotional awareness centers. You step logic aside after lack of sleep to the extent that you must face your emotional guidance system. You must face at that point all facets of your emotions when insomnia becomes this much of a problem. If insomnia is negative for you, then this is the reason why it is happening. You are resistant. You are not facing who you are. While, ironically speaking, in the meantime, your inner child says, I don't want to sleep because I truly don't want to miss anything. I don't sleep because I don't want to miss anything. I want to be fully aware of everything within me, internally, and the matrix of the world that appears to be external as well. So in other words, your inner child doesn't want to miss a beat. The way that he's showing me right now, like my little 3.5-year-old who's been sick is having some hard times with her nap today. Normally she just crashes wherever she needs to, exactly when she needs to. I don't put her down for specific nap times. And today, when I needed to be here with you guys, she was like screaming her head off. I don't want to sleep. I don't want to sleep. Kicking and screaming. And this is what the human inner child does as well. That basically speaking, we're like, don't want to miss it. There's something that I'm not getting. That little edge of a feeling sometimes where you're right on the stage of awareness in your next step of spiritual evolution, and then suddenly, the light bulb's going on, and then you're like, I gotta go to work. It can't be any light bulbs because I gotta focus on my job, so then you lose it. Happens, right? So yeah, and then you lose it, and then you're like, oh, what was that? It's sort of like waiting on Christmas and then forgetting because you had to go to work on Christmas. So essentially, insomnia keeps you awake to the extent that after all of the external and internal types of distractions that we do and give ourselves and unfortunately block ourselves with sometimes, that insomnia says, no, you're going to stay awake and really feel that. You're going to think about that. You're going to go into that level of yourself. You really don't want to miss that. I tried to tell you that 5 times a day. You want to listen to the radio. You want to put on your iPhone. You want to scroll through your iPad. You wanted to talk to a friend, which is all fine and dandy, but humans are so distracted. And the common thread, to answer your question, is that the levels of distraction and the lack of awareness. And it's that you are looking for awareness. You are searching diligently and avidly for answers to the extent that your brain says, I am not going to sleep. I don't want to work that out. Because when we go into subconscious levels, the somnambulistic state during sleep, what happens is we begin to work things out. The brain just automatically begins to balance our unhealed traumas and emotions that occur not just throughout the day, but through many stages of our lives. So if you want to be aware and conscious and awake for that, then you won't sleep. You don't want your brain to do it for you. That's how much of a spiritual badass you are. Go, you. Yeah. Someone in chat said, yeah, my brain likes to keep me awake for hours because I love to daydream. Oh my gosh, me too. I'm such a dreamer. It's my most important thing to do ever, ever, ever. So love that. That's why I'm here on this earth, is to dream. So let's go towards another one of your questions. The question is, will there be another major shift in consciousness in order to be awakened in this lifetime for people? He states that the shifts are major, but they're not happening in any other way that is relative to your past. What he means by that is that we used to ascend and have major consciousness shifts collectively, as humans, and now we're doing it individually. So it is immensely different. So yes, we're having major shifts daily, each of us. And he said, here's how you keep track of those shifts. Within even something that you would think is minor, such as your social media portals, when you get online with your friends and they say, is anyone else feeling this today? I'm feeling particularly this way, and I've searched myself, okay, and I'm not sure exactly why. And you guys, then someone else says, yeah, me too. I'm feeling that way too today. I'm having some feeling signatures that are really bugging me today. And then someone else, and then before you know it, like all across the board, in Facebook groups everywhere, and in Instagram and Twitter, and all the little things that we tend to follow these days in modern technology, then everyone's saying, oh, yep, we had a major shift, but we did it individually. And the only way that we knew that we did it is because we had social media to connect, because we all live on other sides of the planet from each other, unfortunately. So that's what's happening. We are ascending individually instead of collectively. So back to that major point that I wanted to drive home in the beginning of this channeling, um, everything's changing. Everything is shifting. I saw a beautiful Carolyn Miss video that discussed this the other day, wherein she stated exactly what Uriel had stated to me, and it was so synchronistic because he was standing over me. My management team said, you need to go see that. I'm like, why? I don't need nothing to go see. And I complained like I normally do. And then I went to go see it because Uriel's tapping me, tapping me, tapping me. I'm like, okay. If my shoulder had and my etheric shoulder was getting sore. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch it. And she said, we are at the precipice. She said exactly what I said to you today, and what I've been saying to you for months. We're like this, and it could go other direction. But what she also said that I agreed with, that Uriel was nodding his head during the video at the same time. He was like, she's right on, Pamela. She said that religion is about to go kaput. She said, then people are going to basically be saying, oh, well, we have some level of awareness that ETs exist, we have some sort of awareness that we also are the ETs. That's Uriel's perspective. He was like, yes, we're going to have an awareness that ETs actually exist, and that we've had some form of a contact, had past tense, that it's already happened, aka Roswell. We had contact in that standard 3D sense a long time ago. So essentially speaking, the whole contact thing coming back again doesn't really happen because now the ETs are coming into us when we are born because we are the ETs. There's no need to fly our spaceships down anymore, people. So this is kind of the message that he's been telling me for the past few days, and Carolyn missed it in that video. And she said, and then if our religions are gone, because the awareness that there are ETs, the awareness that there's life on other planets happens, which is we're right on the precipice of it. Within the next 5 to 6 years, we are right there on that to where everyone cannot deny that there are ETs, that there's life on other planets, that we're actually not the only ones. So this is what she was saying, and Uriel was tapping on the shoulder, saying, yes, we're going in that direction. These are the major shifts in consciousness that are happening because of our individual shifts. So this is why it's important to stay connected, because then we see these individual shifts. But in the major shifts, it's just the awareness of things. That's what's coming up. Awareness of truth, awareness of life, awareness of our origins, awareness that most of us are starseeds, awareness that religion is a control tactic, awareness of all of that. And she was making jokes about it. She was basically stating, well, then, humans are going to say, do the ETs have a Christmas? And what are their favorite foods? Do they have a Jesus? Do they have this? Do they have that? And she said it's just going to like shatter our little system down here for what we think is real. Yeah, Jim will post you that video. It was so awesome. I was like, yay, I'm so glad that another teacher sees this too. So, because we're right there. And that's the same thing that Dolores Cannon told me when we channeled. She said, we're right there on top of it. Awareness is about to happen. So for those of you who are just quite frankly a little bit bored with, walking around and sleeping humanity, that are kind of stuck in their religions and don't have any awareness that there's any life anywhere, that's about to change. This is changing in our lifetimes. And it is so bloody exciting, right? Okay. Let me go ahead and take another one of your questions. Did I even answer that question? I hope I did. Just got on one of those weird channeling tangents. Okay. Oh, that's a good one. He likes this one. The question is, would Archangel Uriel kindly explain more about our own inner declaration of independence? Deep breath. He's showing me an actual scroll that looks like the Declaration of Independence and what it looked like according to our history books. And he's ripping it up into tiny little pieces. He said, independence is not exactly why you're here. You're not here to be disempowered either. You're not here for any of that. You are here for interdependence. You are not here for independence. You are not here for codependence. You are here for interdependence and understanding and unity and connection with each other. But when you declare your power, this is a different word. This is a different language that could be very beneficial. Understand that you should command your power. Specifically use the words, I command my power. Understand that when you call your power to you, you command truth and you command your power to the extent that you cannot be disempowered. You release fear. You cannot be falling within the human conscious collectives of disempowerment, trapped, manipulated, controlled, used, owned, usurped. He's listing all the core beliefs that we're, predominantly going through collectively right now that's causing the human conscious fear problem. So, yeah, independence is not exactly the word that he would advise. That provides separation. Interdependence and power are the words, your own personal power. Command your power. Those are the three words that he keeps saying to me. Tell them, command your power, command your power, command your power. So, there you go. Deep breath, because I do that all the time with you guys in different ceremonial rites in our alchemy processes. Some of our processes are rather shamanic, where we call back your power. If you want to learn more about those processes, you can see on my website. The Beyond the Human Shadow process for life is very much about calling back your power. Okay. The question is, what is your relationship with Archangel Aurora? He smiles and he said, this is the divine feminine fractal of me. This is what humans would call twin flames, twin souls, those sort of things. So that is the divine feminine fractal of Uriel. That's the relationship. Neither of them have had human form. They're one of the few archangels that have not had a human form. Some of them are coming in and channeling amongst humans, but neither of them have actually reincarnated or been a human before, nor will they ever. So that's what's interesting about both of those angels, just so you know. Let's see. Another question real quick. The question is, thank you for your beautiful wisdom and guidance. He nods. He says, the gratitude is mine. I started doing angel card readings for myself, friends, and one day wanted to do it for clients. He nods and he said, I know your soul. Your soul is pure. Your soul is clear. Your intent is good. Let's see the rest of the question. Can you give me confirmation that I have been connecting with you? He's nodding. He said, pay attention to beams of light through your window. Let's see, what else? Can you give me confirmation that I've been connecting with you and others such as Raphael, Michael, Mary Magdalene? He said, yes, yes, and yes. Raphael connects to you through an angel, through an animal, pardon me, he corrects me, through an animal, a specific animal. That's how you're getting a connection through Raphael. Mary Magdalene is actually within your specific soul stream. So he normally doesn't do personal confirmations, but he really felt the need to do that one. So I hope that meant something to you. Okay, let's take another question. Oh, soulmates. Really? You're going to make me answer that one? Ah, okay. Promise I wouldn't cry today. Okay. Sometimes the desire to be together with my soulmate can be so acute that it hurts. How can I deal with that pain and feelings of craving? Thank you. He said, release your resistance to it. What you resist will still persist, but why does it have to be a negative component of you? Why does it have to be disempowering? Why do you feel that love should take something from you? Why do you feel that love changes or disempowers you? As humans, if you fear love, if you fear how your life will change, then you fear empowerment, and then you fear your purpose. Love is the reason why you're here. Crave it, feel it. If it is acute and if it hurts, allow it. Don't resist it. Step 1. Step 2, disidentify. Stand outside of that, because that is fear. Everything that you're feeling is fear. Disidentify from it, stand outside of it, and understand that you don't have to go in that direction, and then choose a new direction. Choose a new feeling to feel instead. You can choose this instantaneously, and you can choose it in a way that completely evolves and changes your path. Love can be ever present. You're not going to make it go away, but you will understand that you can change your fear of it. Fear cannot exist. If you want it to happen for you, fear cannot exist. Yeah, I'm not going to cry. Holding it back. That was so sweet. Okay. Oh, okay. Sensory input question. Still thinking about the love question. That's so sweet. All right. The question is, the world around me feels overwhelming, both in terms of complexity and of pure sensory input. He said that's because it is both. Am I overwhelmed because I received too much information, or because I haven't yet learned to interpret all of the information I receive on a daily basis? He says it's that, not the former. Do I have to desensitize myself? He said that is the worst thing you could do. Or can I safely learn to embrace everything that is around me? Now he's nodding. He said, stand in it, walk through it, face it. It's flashing a confirmation. Stand in it, walk through it, face it. Breathe it in. Stand in the face of the chaos. And then choose what you would rather perceive it as. How would you choose to perceive it? Decide before the chaos. Decide before you stand in it and walk through it what you would rather feel instead of that. He describes the earth as being immensely, he's like, the downloads that he's showing me cannot even be put into words. He's showing me, I just have to tell you exactly what I'm seeing, like a fairground with a Ferris wheel going and going and going, and there are lights on each of the little cars that are all the way around the Ferris wheel. And then there's the loud fair music booming, booming, and booming in the background. Then there's people's chatter. And then there's the merry-go-round with all the different kids, and each of them are screaming and laughing. And, and then on the other side of the world, there's death, and war, and trauma. And then there are people just living peacefully in monasteries. And then there are people that are swimming with dolphins on vacation. And he said, you can't get this in any other existence. There's so many millions of things happening simultaneously because each of you are choosing in the moment, and the moment is shifting constantly. There is no peace here. Stop seeking peace. Stop seeking it here. Don't become afraid. Don't leave. Don't run. Just stay where you are. Breathe it in and choose what you want to feel, because otherwise it's chaos if you don't choose. Choose what you want to see, choose what you want to feel, and focus this like a flashlight through the chaos. Choose your focus. And he's showing me like a miner who puts the little headband here, and then there's the flashlight, and this is my feeling. Right now, today, I've been choosing awareness. So even though I'm going through some extreme emotional pain for like 3 days straight, this little light bulb of awareness is right here. And it's like, ooh, looky, you missed something there, Pam. Oh, look there. That really wasn't what you thought it was either. Oh, look, you actually don't have to suffer. You actually don't have to choose betrayal. You don't have to choose fear. You don't have to choose stagnation. You don't have to choose disempowerment. None of that gets to happen because you're choosing awareness. So look at everything that you thought was bad and look at how you actually created it to be bad. So awareness is a fun little thing. That's one of the things that I personally chose for my little miner's light bulb up there when I'm walking through chaos. And it kind of just stops the pain, like right in the moment. And, it happened to me earlier today, and I kind of started just laughing. I'm like, did I seriously just do that? Like I had done something really dumb. And like the person around me that loves me very much knew that I had done and said something really dumb. And I didn't get it coming back at me where they were like, that was really dumb. It was just mostly like, no, wait. And then Uriel shined the flashlight. No, wait, don't do that dumb thing. That's going to completely change your life. Don't do that stupid thing. Instead, stop and be aware of what you're saying and doing, because you are making a decision based upon extreme fear. So essentially speaking, when I had the awareness, then I could step back, disidentify, and completely change my outcome. Because what normally would be like, oh, I did something stupid, someone's going to get mad at me, I'm going to hurt someone, then I'm going to be hurt, and then this is going to happen, and then that's going to happen. Like our inner critics just kind of like do this thing where we turn something small into something massive, and then from the manifestation standpoint, then that causes something else, and then that causes something else, and then it becomes this little like domino effect of crap. So essentially speaking, instead of pushing down another domino, I pushed the domino back up, and I chose love. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, we're not going to do that. That's actually choosing love instead of this stupidness. So that's what you do. You stand in the middle of something desensitizing and something emotionally, because what you're doing when you are physically overstimulated, instead of desensitizing yourself, which awareness doesn't do, by the way, it's not going to make you not feel. It's going to make you feel so immensely that you have no choice but to say, all right, bring it on right now. So that's essentially what you do with awareness and what Uriel's describing here. When you feel overstimulated, just walk through it and understand that it is your emotions. Your emotions are causing that sensory input problem. Okay? And this is a real big issue in our autistic communities, both with children and adults. So don't try to desensitize. I was talking to someone about her autistic child the other day, and I said, oh, please remember that we don't focus on try to make the social skills better. We focus on the sensory needs first. What's going on that's causing a child to want to shut down? That's causing them to be so overstimulated that they can't even function in a social environment? It's the same thing with your inner children, even at a functional level. So there you go. I'm sorry I'm talking too much during questions again, but he's talking a lot too, giving me a lot of downloads. Let's take another question. Food question. Yeah, we can do that. Can we bless our food enough with high frequency lasers, gratitude thoughts? He's laughing at the laser comment. Can we bless our food enough with high frequencies that it does not matter so much what we eat, but our intentions? He said, no, because you believe it matters. He said there is not much of a chance that you're going to believe, and he's showing me that I just like crammed a big giant chocolate Nutella piece of toast down my face like a few hours ago, and I'm like, love myself, love myself. It doesn't matter that I'm eating this Nutella, and he's like, you don't believe that. You believe that Nutella is really bad for you. Therefore, it's going to be bad for you. And then like 10 minutes later, my whole face broke out. Like I had to go sit there with like eucalyptus pads on my face. So I almost was afraid to show up today if that allergic reaction didn't go down. And it's the same thing with blessing food. If you go bless a pizza that's like loaded with junk, you know, and you don't believe that that piece is really healthy, if you go bless a Diet Coke and you don't believe that that aspartame is healthy, it's probably not going to be healthy. It's about your belief. Blessing is about belief, is what he's stating. Somebody said pizza. Yeah, vegan pizza. It's awesome. Yeah. Is it true that we should avoid garlic and onions? I said absolutely not true, unless you believe it. It slows our neurons and blocks our third eye. He states, onions and garlic both have specific levels of enzymes that can activate the brain or shut it down based upon your specific frequencies. And he points to me because I can eat the crap out of garlic and be fully activated, but if you give me an onion, I shut down. And I have no specific beliefs about, I didn't even know, someone had to tell me a few years ago that in the Ayurvedic communities, the onions and garlics are considered, taboo, So I had no idea, and I've always been eating garlic, and the moment I eat it, it just activates something in me. So this is based upon your bodies and how your physical bodies are corresponding with your etheric bodies based upon your starseed origins. So some of you are going to be able to tolerate that enzyme and have those enzymes fully activate your brain. Some of the enzymes, particularly in garlic, do great for me, but the enzyme in, I don't know what it is about onions, it's something like that just shuts me down. So there you go. I will literally go into anaphylactic shock if I eat onions. So that's, there's no onions here. There you go. Um, Someone said, what were you saying about the Diet Coke and aspartame or aspartame, however you want to say it, people say it. That is the non-naturally contrived substance that is in diet drinks, diet yogurts, things like that, that is actually terrible for you. So that's just a little personal recommendation from me. Don't eat that. It's in everything. No matter how much I want to bless something with unnatural sweeteners in it, I can't because I know it's terrible. So my belief system is going to just know that it's terrible because it is based upon discernment and truth here in this 3D anyway. Truth for what it means in 3D component is that if it's not really naturally existing, that it's not going to relate very well with your bodies. It's helpful to bless things anyway, according to what Euro is stating, but it's not going to stop you from getting sick if you understand intellectually that what you're eating is bad for you. So belief is at the core of everything, 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 everything. Let's see, the next question within that question is it true that cats should not be vegan at this time? He states, unfortunately, they need higher levels of protein and they don't have a taste preference towards the protein that they could digest. That cats are evolving, and he states that cats are also at that tipping point, that um, right there at the precipice, of evolution. Therefore, some of them can, some of them don't need it. Some of them can be given ulterior types of um, alternative types of protein from other sources, and some of them absolutely just don't even, they're not even ready for that. They're still in their primitive state. So that's not a yes or a no answer, but they're evolving and they're changing and they're going in that direction, but they haven't yet. So that's the thing. And he said, and then you have the problem that for those who have evolved and they can choose to eliminate meats, um, they don't want to. Their taste purposes are geared towards the meat. So then they believe in their belief systems that they need it. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Oh, political question. I can't believe he wants to take it. Political questions. Cool, cool. I'm happy about that. He doesn't shy away from the questions. He's like, bring on the hard questions. Bring on the stuff that you normally, you know, wouldn't want to answer. The question is, it concerns me that so many citizens in the USA are allowing themselves to be led by Donald Trump, who is using Hitler strategies of hate, judgment, and separation rather than love, acceptance, and collaboration. How can this negative movement be turned around? He states because when humanity is at the tipping point, anything could happen at the last minute that turns it around. They vote him in because they are entertained. They don't vote him for the proper purposes. They vote him in because they are entertained. and because it is interesting. Humans are experimenting. he he showed me like an old black and white version of the funnies, and he said this is comedy. He said this is divine comedy, and he's being serious. Like, I laughed, but he's being quite serious. Sometimes I have to laugh because it's so true. Because I was just stating this the other day, to someone, and I said, how could they be voting for him? And my friend said back to me, he was like, I don't really know, but they are. And then we got discussing it a little, and Uriel was behind me, and he was saying, because they want a good laugh. I was like, so essentially speaking, humans are doing something because it's silly. They know at this point that each candidate aren't really, that there's only, Uriel stating that there's only one candidate that has true potential towards wanting to help humanity evolve. And obviously this is not the candidate, he says, that has that intention. So with that, this is some sort of a human comedy that they're perpetuating because they are tired of the system. This is why they're voting for him. Because at the last minute, they're going to pull him in and then watch him lose, and then they're going to laugh and then choose something different. So Uriel doesn't think that Donald Trump's going to win. He's nodding and confirming. Yeah, someone in the chat said, yeah, American politics has been a big joke for a while. He's nodding. Someone else said in chat, Bernie Sanders has good intention for humanity. He's nodding and confirming that, actually. So there you go. And I don't follow politics. I just kind of follow just enough to understand what's going on. And I view it all as comedy as well. So I agree with Uriel. Okay, we're going to have a question about chronic pain. Let's see. When someone has lived with injury and chronic pain for many years and seemingly tried everything to move back into a place of well-being to no avail and the pain persists, how can one find the answers to being released from the debilitating state back into health? He says, please don't perceive this as cruelty. Understand what the pain is meant to show you. What is it that you are hanging on to? What is it that you aren't changing? When you have a perpetuating pattern of suffering, something has evolved through your emotional center into your physical states so thoroughly and so dominantly, so ever presently, that it is demanding your attention. What part of you absolutely demands your attention? Feed that part of you, and then the pain will start. Okay, I hope that answered the question. Let's take another. He's not answering the question about Mars for someone who asked, should we colonize on Mars, because he doesn't believe it's applicable. And that's something he wanted to make known. He doesn't believe that's going to be anything that happens anytime soon. So it's not an applicable question based upon the direction that humans are going. How do we get out of the soul's dark night? Okay, dark night of the soul. Okay. Like the one thrown at you after separation from your twin flame. Walk through it with the flashlight. He's going back to the flashlight analogy. And he states, don't go into avoidance. That is one thing not to do. The biggest problem in the human conscious collective with dark night of the soul is to understand that nothing can be taken from you. Whatever is happening, especially within the twin flame relationship dynamic, is what is happening within you. If you have been betrayed, if you have been left, if you've been abandoned, if you've been hurt, If you've been disrespected, it is because you are doing it to you. Any of those things that you perceive are being done to you from a twin is something that you are doing to yourself. And when you understand that, reflect and go within, then you will receive love from within. And then whatever is meant to come to you, whether it's twin flame or not, is going to come to you in the form that it should. Self-love question. Okay. We hear about self-love a lot, but what is it? Is it acceptance of self? What he's showing me is like a heart, not an organ form, but an actual shape of a heart. And then the zigzag through the middle, when hearts are broken and we feel fragmented. And he said, and he put it in my chest here, and I could feel different opposing sides of me. One that says, take the risk of love or take the risk of loss. And when you say, I accept either scenario, loss or love. It's fear either way. If you fear love, there's the fear to love or the fear of losing. There's the fear to be alone, and then there's the fear of going out. But either way, when you accept that there's risk in everything, and you accept that and you stand in that fear and you say, okay, I'm okay either way. So I think I'm going to do what scares me, accept what I want, honor my needs, honor the needs of those who love me. Then you look at it from both perspectives. And then he's showing me, and then the two sides of the hearts can come together. And then you can love yourself, and then others can love you. But when you accept that there's risk in everything, and you acknowledge that anything could happen, good or bad, whether it's external love or internal love, no matter what it is, then you start to accept. And yes, it is acceptance, to answer your question. So, well, we've answered a good bit of questions. I'm going to have to end on this, only because I have to go take care of my beautiful children who are awakening from their naps. So I've enjoyed this very much. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I love each and every one of you. And you have been such a guiding presence. Each of you here today have been such a guiding, supporting presence that has caused me, to be able to accept me too. So when you show up and you're reflecting gratitude and you're reflecting acceptance and you're open, it's such a supportive function for me to be able to do what I'm here to do. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to follow my purpose and for teaching me how to love myself. Yeah, you helped me with that. Thank you. I love you.